introduce you to somebody this morning. I want to introduce you to a young man named Ted Stallard. A young man like many young people we see who was very turned off by school. You would look at him and be very sloppy in appearance and expressionless and unattractive and slow. Oftentimes when he was in class, he would stare off into space in the unresponsiveness, and when the teacher asked him a question, he was always unresponsive to what she said. His teacher, Miss Thompson, enjoyed it as she bared down with her red pen and placed big red X's on Ted's report card. Or when he turned in a report, the many wrong answers that he gave. But see, church, just like a lot of us, if she had studied Ted's school record more carefully, she would see that this was someone just crying out for help.
Yes, Lord.
In the first grade, Ted shows promise with his work and his attitude, but he has a poor home situation. In the second grade, Ted could do better, but his mother was seriously ill and he received little help from home. In the third grade, Ted is a good boy, but too serious. He's a slow learner, and his mother died this year. In the fourth grade, Ted is very slow but well behaved, but his father shows no interest in the child whatsoever. One time when Christmas came and we see ourselves going into this Advent season, the children brought elaborate gifts to their teacher's desk. And Ted brought one too. But the difference was Ted was wrapped in a brown paper bag, held together by Scotch tape. But Miss Thompson opened the gift, and as the children came around, they all began to laugh at what Ted had brought. You see, he brought a gaudy rhinestone bracelet with half the stones missing and a bottle of cheap perfume. And the children began to laugh at what Ted brought, but she silenced them by putting on the perfume and putting on the bracelet so that he could see that she appreciated what he had done. And then after the other children left, Ted came to his teacher's desk and said, Miss Thompson, you know what? You smell just like my mother. And the bracelets look pretty real on you. I'm glad that you like the presents that I presented.
All right.
At that very moment after he left, Miss Thompson fell down to her knees and asked God to forgive her and to change her attitude that she had toward this young child. The next day, the children came in and were greeted by a totally different teacher committed to each and every one of them, especially the slow ones, the ones like Ted. You see, Ted grew up and started having great improvements on the things that he'd done, and even though he caught up with all the students, he even passed a few of them. And graduation came, and she didn't hear anything else from him. Until one day, as things often happen in our lives, she gets a message saying, Dear Miss Thompson, I wanted you to be the first to know I'll be graduating second in my class, love Ted. 4 years later, she gets another note that says, Miss Thompson, they just told me that I'll be graduating first in my class. I wanted you to be the first one to know. The university haven't been easy, but because of the love that you showed me, I wanted you to know first. And 4 years later, she gets another note from him and says, Today, I am Ted Stallard, MD. Look at God. I want you to be the first to know that I'm going to be getting married next month on the 27th, and I want you to come and sit in a place where my mother would have sat if she were alive. All right. You see, you're the only family that I have. Man. You see, Dad died last year. And you're the only one that I know. She attended the wedding and she sat where Ted's mother would have sat because she showed compassion for that young man. Compassion. A word we often have a hard time dealing with. But you think of the word compassion and it speaks of Jesus. You see, we have a hard time dealing with the Teds in life. You know, when we get into difficult situations with people, I often wonder why I would hear people say, when I talk to somebody, we had to have a coming to Jesus meeting. What would you say to Jesus if you were face to face with him? How could you call a coming to Jesus meeting if he haven't come to you first? How could you have a coming to Jesus meeting if you didn't ask him to start with me first? How could I ask him to do something else in somebody else's life and miss out on myself? Yes. You know, we do those things and we don't realize how much we put the Lord down when we make statements like that. Amen. And come to Jesus meeting. If you read in the Bible, when people came to Jesus face to face, great things happened. We often use those cliches so lightly that we realize that the Lord had to say that you're not really talking about me. You're talking about yourself. You see, every day we come into contact with people like Ted and that story. However, for some, the hurt doesn't always show up on the outside. Some people wear a mask to cover up the invisible pain that hides just beneath the surface in their lives. You see, it may be your next door neighbor, a member of your family, a spouse, a friend, a co-worker, or maybe even the person sitting right next to you. You see, we don't think about that. Some of you here today are living every day in private pain that's eating away at your soul right now. If we're truly being honest. The pain can be caused by many things, including personal sin and rejection and addictions, abuse and betrayal, and many other failures, both personal and moral. You may be thinking, if my face smiled and my facade came down, someone would find out about this, and would they still care about me? Amen. You see, some are even wondering right now, does anyone even care about me? Let me give you the good news. Jesus cares about all of us. Yes. You see, this is what we find when we have a face-to-face encounter with Jesus. Yes. So as a way of looking at this, we look at this Samaritan woman by a well. And this story that you've heard time and time and time again. But we're going to look at it another way. See, Jesus is a master teacher who taught in many ways. He often taught in large multitudes where many people got a chance to hear him speak. But you see, he also had one-on-one encounters with people also. And some of the people that he had encounters with were just like us. That he already knew the things that they were going through. You see, when Jesus gives you his full attention, there's something that he's trying to get through to you on.